Urban Meyer has some very interesting things to say about Ryan Day's comments after beating Notre Dame. And there's a good chance you will agree with Urban Meyer's thoughts about Ryan Day's postgame rant.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeyes fans? Welcome back for another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Friday, September 29th in the year 2023, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. During today's episode, we will discuss what the Buckeyes will endure when they take the field after their bye week, and Black Stripe Alert is back. But first, Urban Meyer recently discussed and had some comments about Ryan Day's post-game, not just comments, post-game rant after beating Notre Dame. This is something that I enjoyed listening to and looking back and looking over the quotes once again, because I think when Urban Meyer speaks about this very topic, he has a very good mindset and good view about how it is to be a Buckeyes coach in these big games. If you take away Urban Meyer from Bowling Green, Urban Meyer from Utah, and Urban Meyer from Florida, just look at Urban's tenure at Ohio State. Think about all of the big games he coached in from 2012 during the year where the Buckeyes were under probation until his final game coaching the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl, his very last game as a college football head coach. He went through a lot of games, a lot of big-time matchups, some that he lost. Clemson, some that he lost. Other games he won. Alabama beating Oregon for the Natty, Rose Bowl over Washington. He lost some, he won some. So Urban Meyer's thoughts about this are very specific, only if you focus on his time in Columbus. But if you open it up big picture and you say Urban Meyer at Florida, Urban Meyer at Utah, Urban Meyer at Bowling Green, he's coaching a lot of big games and won everywhere that he has coached. So when he speaks about this topic, about Ryan Day's post-game rant, I was inclined to listen to what he had to say. I wasn't sure if I was going to agree with it. I wasn't sure if it was going to line up with what I said earlier this week, but I was inclined to pay attention to what he had to say. Going to read this directly. This is from a show that he did with Tim May. It was actually Urban's Take with Tim May. Tim May's longtime Buckeye football reporter, now working for Letterman Row and On 3. And this is coming right from that show that Tim May and Urban Meyer did together. Pretty lengthy quote here, a lot to read, but it will give a great insight, a great picture about how Urban Meyer views Ryan Day's post-game rant. Quote, "It's your choice to be the coach at Ohio State or a player, and with that comes enormous scrutiny. That's fine, but also he's a human being, and if somebody criticizes Ryan Day for fighting for his team and himself, dude, you're an idiot. I hate to be so direct, but I get so angry sometimes when somebody is going to criticize Ryan Day for saying what is on his heart, media members or some other buffoon, and I'm not calling Coach Holtz a buffoon, because I love Coach Holtz. But that's between those two. Let Ryan Day say what he wants to say and move on. If you don't like it, that's fine. But do you understand that Ryan Day just won a game where his life would be different if he lost that game? And somebody sticks a microphone in his face, probably 4 minutes after it happened, he's allowed to say what he wants to say, and you respect that," end quote. That's kind of a mic drop. Like the last little line there where he went on and said, quote, he's allowed to say what he wants to say, and you respect that, end quote. I'm just going to say, I ain't got a mic. I mean, I do have a mic. Not going to drop it. Speaking into it right now. I got a pen. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's literally like a mic drop. Because Ryan Day is in a situation that most of us have never been in. Most of us have never coached a team. I understand there may be coaches watching or listening, or former players, or whatever it is, people from all walks of life, all over, from the coaching profession to former football players, maybe even at Ohio State, who maybe tapped into this show. I have never been to Notre Dame inside the stadium to watch a game. Many of us never have either. If we've been inside, we probably have not been on the sidelines, either covering a game or playing in that game, maybe being a referee. Most of us do not have that luxury or have that privilege to be in that environment. Then coaching it, yeah, you may be a position coach or a GA. Most of us have not been head coaches inside Notre Dame Stadium, inside that environment, 80,000 loud fans the entire game. Most of us have never been inside that. And earlier in the week, Lou Holtz made some very specific comments about the team you are leading as Ryan Day. Speaking of Ryan Day here, as the head coach of the Buckeyes. And you win that game in dramatic fashion. You go, 65 yards in 85 seconds? And in that, there were 15 plays. So there's a lot going on in that 85-second stretch. You get a big catch from Fleming, a big catch from Abuka, a big catch from Harrison Jr., a big catch from Stover. I mean, you got big catches all over. Your quarterback, who is now in his 5th start of his career, college football career, not just Buckeye career, college football career, just made big boy throw after big boy throw after big boy throw and led the team down the field. Game-winning drive, and the only run play that was called in that drive was the one that was a game-winning touchdown. Chip Trainum runs left, gets in, keeps his legs off the ground, touchdown. You're full of emotion just in that game. And then when you add in what has gone on during Ryan Day's tenure as head coach at Ohio State, I have been critical of some things that have happened. You have been critical of things that have happened. Maybe I've never talked to you, but some of you leave comments in YouTube, and I read some of those comments. You guys are very critical about how Ryan Day has handled this team. So you think all of that in, Ryan Day's tenure, him being the head coach of the Buckeyes, knowing that you're under a massive, massive microscope, or really one, I say massive because everybody's looking at you, but it's really very, very specific about what they expect from you as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. You win that game 17-14, a game when you were down, a game that even many people just thought you were going to lose the game. You win. You win the game. And then a few minutes after you win that game, a few minutes after that game-winning touchdown, a few minutes after a big celebration as the Chip Trainum crosses the goal line, there's a microphone in your face, and one of the things that's in your mind is what Lou Holtz had to say about you and the team you lead and the type of team you are leading at Columbus. I understand it. And you know what? That last line from Urban Meyer, quote, he's allowed to say what he wants to say, and you respect that, end quote. There might be an old school mindset. I don't know a lot of people nowadays that might take on the thoughts that Urban Meyer had to say in regards to Ryan Day's postgame rant. But he's right. He's exactly right. I said it earlier in the week. I'll say it again. If you're going to publicly criticize a team that I am leading, and that game that I'm going to play against the team you used to coach is on prime time on national television, and you made your comments on national television, what am I inclined to do? Respond publicly. And I guarantee you, there were 10.5 million viewers watching that game against Ohio State Notre Dame. I don't know if there were 10.5 million people that were watching the Pat McAfee show at that time when it first came out when Lou Holtz made those comments. So Ryan Day's platform at the time, now I understand YouTube and circulation and things like that, not saying it hasn't reached a lot of people, but at that one time, Ryan Day, got everybody's attention. And also, his team did as well. Coached a tough team, led them to a tough win. I love what Urban Meyer had to say about this, and I am really glad that Urban Meyer spoke up and defended Ryan Day in the way that he did. Coming up next, the Buckeyes are going to be coming off a bye week starting next week, preparing for another game. Also preparing for a long, grueling 8-game stretch of Big Ten football. We'll discuss how the Buckeyes are preparing for this stretch and what to expect when the Buckeyes return to the field next week, right here on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Nutrafol. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. Men think losing their hair is inevitable. Take control of your hair's future with Nutrafol's science-backed hair growth supplement for men. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every single day. Coming up today, yes, on Friday, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, is Locked On's College Football Kickoff Live. It'll be live right here on the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube channel. Be discussing playoff implications, rivalry games, big matchups coming up that weekend, and other storylines going on in college football. Let's say you can't catch it live. It'll be available in its entirety in a playback format on the YouTube, on Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page, and also in the audio format, Apple, Spotify, the Odyssey app, or other, in a condensed portion of the show. Locked On College Football Kickoff Live is live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch it in a playback format on YouTube in its entirety, or in a shortened format on the podcast app of your choice. The Buckeyes post-bye week stretch is not like most weeks. Normally when I remember last year discussing the Buckeyes schedule and looking at the post-bye week, and I was like, oh, this is not that hard. This is not that crazy. This should be, what do I say? A breeze. I haven't said that on the show in a long time. But here we go. We're going to start bringing back some of the old sayings. This should be a breeze. This should not be a breeze. There are going to be a lot of tough games that the Buckeyes are going to play coming up after the bye week. When you look at how the Buckeyes open their schedule this year, on the road against Indiana, home against Youngstown State, home against Western Kentucky, on the road against Notre Dame, you're getting a little bit of everything. A pretty good G5 school in Western Kentucky that you handled soundly. You got up early. It did not relinquish your lead and did not give Western Kentucky any confidence that they would be able to come back in that game. An FCS opponent in Youngstown State, where that victory should have been larger, 35-7. The Buckeyes should have scored 50 to 60 points in that game. And a game against the Indiana Hoosiers, who are not good, had to go into 4 overtimes to beat a MAC school in Akron. That's pretty embarrassing. You only beat them 23-3. 17-14 win over Notre Dame. That's great. But now coming up post-bye week, there's a home game, which is homecoming, 12 noon. Big Fox will be there. Big Fox, Big Noon, Gus, Joel, Jenny Tapp, and wait for them all season. They're finally here. That's the game coming up this coming Saturday, well, a week from tomorrow, when the Buckeyes return to the field. Then you have a road game at Purdue, home against Penn State, on the road at Camp Randall in Wisconsin, on the road at Piscataway, New Jersey, to play Rutgers, home against Michigan State, home against Minnesota, and on the road at Michigan. Now, on paper, on the surface, many people will automatically say this should be a breeze. I'm not going there. And the pitch on that was a whole lot better than it was earlier. I'm not saying it's going to be a breeze. I am not. When I just look at the schedule on paper, Maryland's going to be a tough game, tougher than I think it has been over the past few years. And last year's game was tough. This game's going to be tough. Maryland's a really good football team, playing good ball right now. Defense is playing better. They have a really good quarterback in Talea Tagovailoa, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Buckeyes post-bye week have a game plan and implement that game plan into practice on the field against the Terrapins a week from tomorrow. The game in West Lafayette's always odd. It's just one of those weird ones. Like, when do you play Purdue? After Maryland, it's on the road, it's before Penn State. This is the definition of a trap game right here. because Maryland's not Penn State. Penn State's not Maryland. Both of them are a lot better than Purdue. And really, the Buckeyes, you could be looking ahead to Penn State. You could be looking ahead to Wisconsin. And in the back of your mind, maybe in the forefront or in the middle, you're looking ahead to Michigan. There's a lot coming up this second part of the season. Well, post-bye week part of the season. And that is the definition of a trap game. I will be there. My wife and I will be there for that game. And it should be a blowout. But it's not so much the outcome of that game, it's how they play, because that game could be pivotal into a win or loss for the Buckeyes against Penn State. The game at Camp Randall, when I realized it was on the road, that was one thing. That's going to be tough. Like, okay, cool. Let Big Noon go over there. It'll be 11 a.m. Central Time, local for the Wisconsin Badgers. That's great. No, it's going to be at night. It's a NBC game currently. Now, it could get flexed. It's a game Halloween weekend, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. I do believe that'll be another Noah Eagle, Todd Blackledge, Catherine Tappan call there. And they do a phenomenal job broadcasting the games. And, man, Camp Randall's going to be live. Man, live, I tell you. That game is going to be very, very interesting to watch. Storylines there, just like they were with Notre Dame. You got a former Buckeye player as a head coach now with Luke Fickell, former Buckeye coach as well. Luke Fickell coaching the Wisconsin Badgers right now. That game's going to be tough. Then you got Rutgers, better. Some say better. I don't know how much better they are, but that game in Piscataway, New Jersey, back-to-back road games, that one's going to be there. Michigan State just fired Mel Tucker, so that one should be below. I'll talk about a game that might get flexed. NBC wouldn't like this, but I could easily see that game getting flexed because that game should be over quick. Quick, I tell you. That should not be a contest. The Minnesota game is going to be tricky. It's at home, but Minnesota's normally a solid football team. PJ Fleck coaches a good brand of football. And you can't just roll in there saying, oh, we're going to blow you out by 80 and look ahead to Michigan. You cannot do that. This is not the same kind of trap game as the Purdue game is, but it's still one of those games that can trip you up. The Buckeyes post-bye week, it's not like it all. It's not one of those easier years, especially when the Buckeyes need to fix things. Now I'm going to go through the exhaustive list. I'll go through a few of them. You got to figure out if you have another defensive end that's going to play consistently other than Sawyer and Tuimoloau. A week ago, Sawyer Tuimoloau had all the defensive end snaps. I don't know if that's really a recipe for success. And I even said preseason, I still believe it now. Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Caden Curry need to play. Not just play Caden Curry playing a deep tackle spot. Need to play outside. Those two guys are too good in a backup role, especially if you want a guy in Kenyatta Jackson Jr., K-Jack, to just be a third down rusher, pass rusher. So what he's good at, let him do it. I'm hoping that that's one thing. Offensive line still needs some work. Play better, but still needs some work. And I am not confident on some things with the offensive line, but I will say that they are improving, and I do hope we see more improvement against Maryland, Purdue, Penn State, and the other games the Buckeyes play. Running game, will we ever get consistent play from the running backs? It is not so much we're getting better play. Do the coaches want a 100-yard rusher? Do the coaches want to allow the running game to ease things off of Kyle McCord? Because if not, great. It's going to put more pressure on number 6. I don't know. Running backs have been better, but not up to the standard that I have been thinking we would see from the Buckeyes running backs this year. This post-bye week stretch, 8-game stretch, all Big Ten games. It's going to be tough, tougher than normal. And I hope the Buckeyes are preparing, and I believe they are, for a grueling 8-game stretch leading into what potentially could be a chance to win the Big Ten championship in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana. Can't wait for the Buckeyes to get back on the football. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're improving their play to make some noise in October and November during this college football season. Coming up next, we have a black stripe alert, and this one, I love this player we're talking about, and I cannot wait to see or the thoughts I have about what he might be in the future as a future starter on the Buckeyes offense. That's all I'll tell you for now. I'll tell you more next on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. I did not think that this Friday, today's show, we would be having 5 days or a week's long's worth of shows discussing the Buckeyes win over Notre Dame. Either analysis that I gathered or remembered or just gathered from the rewatch, or even things that people said about that game, about that win, or even about Ryan Day. I didn't think we would get here, but we have, and I'm pretty sure I could even gather some other notes in regards to the Buckeyes, that game, leading into the game next week against Maryland, but we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is discuss a Buckeye, one of the Buckeyes who has lost his black stripe this week. Freshman quarterback, Mr. Lincoln Kienholz, 6'2", 200 pounds, from Pierre, South Dakota. T.F. Riggs High School. This man was a summer enrollee. This is one of the things I loved about him. During the recruiting process, once he committed, and then even this spring when it was announced that in the fall when it was announced that he would be a summer enrollee instead of an early enrollee, there was a commitment to his boys back there in South Dakota. I almost said the Dakotas, but I can't because there's a north and a south. There was a commitment to his boys back there in South Dakota to finish what they started. He's a multi-sport athlete, all-state athlete, and I do believe football, basketball, and baseball. I know 2 of the 3. Just not sure which one could possibly be left out. Won a state championship, I do believe, this year in baseball. This young man is an athlete. He's also coming into a quarterback room that has Kyle McCord, QB1, QB2, Devin Brown. You have a grad transfer in Tristan Gebbia from Oregon State, who started a few games himself. And you're having a guy coming in at Lincoln Kienholz, came in a little bit late. Ryan Day talked about how he appreciated Kienholz's mentality and his get-to-itness, if you want to use that phrase, which really is not a phrase, but we can make things up here on the show. He really loved his mindset when he got to school. Kienholz was one of those guys when his skill set as a quarterback, more of a dual threat guy. He could sling that thing all around the yard, has a nice big arm. There is going to be a learning curve. There is going to be a preparation or a process for him to figure out reading a defense. Maybe some of the disguises in college are going to confuse him early, but reading what the defense is doing right in front of him and then taking what he's quickly processed and putting that into application in that play that he is in. Also, losing his black stripe. I didn't go over this earlier. I always want to say the thing that this is because there might be a new listener or viewer that might not know what losing your black stripe is or the importance of it. Losing your black stripe is very, very big at Ohio State. You are a Buckeye when you commit. You are a verbally commit. You're a Buckeye when you sign on that dotted line on your national letter of intent. But then there's a process, kind of what you want to call an initiation process, which really is that may have the wrong connotation in it or wrong thought process. But you're dealing with someone in Lincoln Kienholz that the initiation process for Ohio State is prove you're a Buckeye. Just prove it. Put the work in. Work hard again. Some more hard work. Be able to be a sponge in the film room. Be coachable. Being able to go through all the drills and go at it at a full go, full speed every time. Being on time is key. Like being what the coaches want a Buckeye to be, then you lose your black stripe. It's one of those initiation processes that I enjoy. I like it. I dig this. I like that it's continually going on, and I understand some people may say, well, nah, man, I'm officially a Buckeye when I sign the national letter of intent. I'm a Buckeye then. It's the truth. You can't take it away from me, which is true. Like you're in a locker room. You have a locker, has Ohio State on the emblem. You have a practice jersey. You have all these things. All that is great. Still put this work in, bro. Still put this work in right here in front of me. You still got to do it. And I am here for Lincoln Kienholz. I'm not going. My excitement for certain players is not me saying like, oh, so and so is going to start in the future or is going to start next year. Not doing that. I was excited about Caden Curry before he committed to Ohio State. Talked to, I believe, one of his relatives at the state championship his senior year, and they even at the time did not know where he was going to commit, leaning one way or another. Ultimately, it was to Ohio State. I was high on Caden Curry, higher on some others. Great. I'm high on a lot of people. That does not mean I think you should start right away, because I realize there are guys in front of you that are better than you. Put that work in. In the Lincoln Kienholz situation, there's a good chance he will not be a Buckeye starter until his third year on campus, because McCord could stay for 2 years. Does Devin Brown stay or not? If he does, what does Kienholz do? Is there a logjam at quarterback? You got Tavian St. Clair, who's committing and going to join the Buckeyes next year. I believe it's next year. It could be 2 years out. The grade, the classification year escapes my memory right now. But you have other quarterbacks coming in. This room is going to be really, really talented. Put the work in, young man. Continue grinding. Continue being a Buckeye. You've lost the black stripe. You've earned the right to be a Buckeye once again. But you know what? Continue working. Continue grinding. Because we could be looking at a situation in 3 years when Lincoln Kienholz is potentially the starting quarterback. What are we going to be saying? He is a dual threat, yes, but he fits Ryan Day's offense. Ryan Day is catering the offense to him. And ultimately, he is a good thrower of the ball, which is ultimately the number one goal, one of the main goals for Ryan Day starting quarterbacks. Forget being a dual threat, being able to run a read option or a triple option. Can you run that 10-yard out? Can you throw that quick slant? Can you make all the throws in the route tree? If you can, consistently, with the defense in front of you, we're going to be A-OK. Out of here on a Friday, Buckeye fans. You can follow me on X at JStevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. Friday is here. Make sure you tap in and view the Locked On College Football Kickoff live show right here on the Locked On Buckeyes YouTube page. Watch all the ball on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in preparation to watch more college football next weekend and to see the Buckeyes return to the football field on homecoming and a game on Big Noon with Gus, Joel Klatt, and Jenny Tabb. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Friday. I'll see you next time.